All right, and we are live. Right, let's give everybody a couple of seconds to join the webinar. Now, as always, guys, when we want to introduce this, some of the amazing presenters we have today. Russell, nice to have you here again, and Fabiola, you're not new to this. You've done a lot of webinars with our audience. People, you know, are always saying good things about the way you do webinars. So I'm looking forward to the content that we have to offer this week. Now, Fabiola, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I've been with TaxDome for I'd say about 8 months now, and honestly, is one of the best companies I've ever worked for in my life. They are amazing. The product that we have here is just something that I've never seen before. It just helps so many businesses out, and I'm really, really happy to be here. I have a lot of customer support experience and technical support experience. So it's really nice to give those kind of instructions to our clients that are blank. Sometimes they don't really know much about integrating a new technology into their work or business, and some of you are really tech savvy, so it's nice to explore the ability to have that communication of, do I explain this in a really tech savvy way, or do I explain TaxDome so that everybody can understand? And usually we want everybody to understand. So I'm really happy to have hosted past onboarding webinars, and happy to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that introduction. Russell, how are you today?
Hey, doing great. Edgar, how are you?
Doing well. It's just getting a little cold here, but I'm doing well overall. I did speak to actually quite a few people last week about this webinar, and it helped kind of shape the content further. So I'm super looking forward to just what we're going to be able to go over today and for the rest of the sessions. Um, Now, for those that don't know me, I've been here with TaxStone 4 years. I've helped a couple hundred of you to get started with the system and been providing ongoing assistance as well with the software. And I've been doing a couple of events as well, and again, super happy to be here.
Yep.
All right.
And my name's Russ Hoskins. I'm a CPA here in Orlando, Florida. I've been with TaxDome since 2021. My firm is currently 15 staff members, looking forward to going through with Edgar and Fabiola. The sample file you guys have created for this class is great, and I'm looking forward to going through it with you guys.
All right. Now let's go over our agenda for today, and I want to be super clear and transparent with you guys. The first two sessions of the bootcamp we're gonna cover a lot of basic content for people that are getting started with the system. I know a lot of you have been with TaxStone for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. We want to make it clear you want to join us for best practices the whole week, but if you're here for the advanced content, advanced best practices, Russell's secrets. We're gonna cover those more in detail, from session 3 onward. Now today we're going to do a platform demo and overview. We're gonna tackle what exactly we're trying to accomplish with this bootcamp, and we're gonna show you, just an example of a firm, a test firm that has been set up the way that this bootcamp is been structured, and so that you can see the results, the outcome of doing those things. We're going to cover as well some of the most common security and concerns about using a new platform. We know all of you, that are new to the software. You're here. One of the reasons you're here for, I'm sure, is the security of the system. So we're going to cover a little bit about that today. Fabiola is going to help us with the CRM basics and actions that you can utilize within the system once you have your imported client list. And because tomorrow we will be doing an actual import process live, we will cover today what you need to do in order to prepare for tomorrow's session. Fabiola is going to help us with that too. And as well, as always, we're going to have at the end of the bootcamp, at the end of today's session, we're going to have a Q&A section in which you will be able to turn on your microphone and talk to our presenters here live. All right, for the rest of the week, what are we going to cover? On day 2, we're going to talk about important clients, best practices, how Russ did it when he was getting started, what he would have done differently, and Then we're going to also talk about communication on day two, communication with clients and internal as well with the firm. Day three, we're going to talk about workflows, how to set up a workflow, how to utilize templates from the library, and more importantly, how to customize those workflows so that they're tailored to your own practice. Day four, we're going to talk about advanced workflow functionality, such as conditional workflows, conditional automation for each client, tagging based on stages of a pipeline, etc. Those of you that have been with us for for at least a couple of months, you will definitely want to stay with us for day four session because we're going to cover exactly what you'll need to prepare to make your next tax season way more successful with conditional automation. And then day five, we're going to talk about reporting and billing very extensively. So if you are interested in the numbers for your practice, how long it took you to complete jobs, understanding your revenue, maybe tracking your time, all of that is going to be covered on day five, and we will also have an extended Q&A section at the very end. So if you are maybe you wanted us to cover something more in depth, but we never got to it, or we didn't cover it as extensively, on day five, we'll allocate at least 45 minutes in just an extended Q&A so we can share our screen and go over those things that you wanted more content in regards to. All right, and we're gonna just spend a couple minutes here talking with Russ. Now it's important. We have a lot of new people here at TaxDome, Russ, that are joining us for this bootcamp. One of the most important things that I want to highlight here is, from your perspective, Russ, when you were looking at software and you were thinking of implementing something new in your practice back in 2021, what exactly brought you to check out TaxDome in the first place?
Well, we were in need of two things: a good client portal and e-signatures, and that really that's what got us to start with TaxDome. And then as we used it that first tax season, for those two primary things, we realized that it would replace so much more in our tech stack, and so we implemented document management later that season, and then we started using it for everything for our CRM, and really made it our firm's knowledge base, and it really helped us eliminate four, five, six programs that we've been using previously, and so we started simple, because if you've looked at all the things that TaxDome will do, there's a lot, and so we implemented a couple things here, a couple things there in the program, and so we really had a good experience.
That's awesome. Hey, Fabiola, I know you talk to a lot of new people at TaxDome and you help them with onboarding their clients, their team members. So what are one of the most common situations you see or problems you see that people are trying to solve when they're new to our system?
I believe that it's, kind of like what Russ mentioned. It's having different platforms that you need to come together. Like if it was a centralized place where you could do everything, that would be ideal. So I'd say like almost 80% of the clients that I onboard are like, yeah, I had like 3, 4 different softwares that I just had to, I had this drive where I put my client information on, like the files and documents. And then I had, this other place where I paid a subscription on, which is kind of expensive for signatures, right? And I was doing that separately, and so all of these, different softwares that essentially is needed for the same thing, like for the same clients, having it centralized and organized in one spot has been the number one thing that solves a lot of issues with clients, really, that centralized hub.
That's amazing. Now, one of the things that I wanted to make a comment in regards to is exactly what you guys have said, which is just the need of centralizing everything, right? It is very difficult to, as a client, as a consumer, right? When using different tools to be provided of a service, it's just unintuitive. It's not as friendly. So a lot of the people I talk to personally, which are just either prospects to us, people are looking into a software vendor, they're reviewing different vendors. One of the things they like a lot is the client experience that TaxDome has. Now, we're going to actually show you guys in a couple of minutes what exactly that looks like, because I know from your perspective, when you're evaluating software and when you're implementing it, you focus a lot on the firm and what the firm's going to do, what the system's going to be like for your team to onboard and all these different things. And you don't spend a lot of time actually understanding what the client's going to be doing. So for your clients, if you're going to be utilizing an all-in-one system, the experience has to be also as seamless or as friendly as possible, right? So we're going to try to cover that as well, and just show you guys, how easy, how simple things can be for the client end. Thank you, by the way, Fabiola and Russ, for that. Now, let me go back to, sorry, let me go to the next slide here, guys. Now, for those of you that didn't know, TaxDome does have a mobile app available for both the firm and the client. Now, on your screen, you will see something come up with a QR code. You can download the firm mobile app if you have not done that yet. Extremely recommended, especially helpful for communication with clients. Now, TaxDome does have a communication system where clients can message you through the app, and the firm mobile app for the team, for your team members, is going to help you a lot with that. So if you haven't downloaded it, go to the handouts document. You should find a link there, or here also on your screen you should see a QR code. Our team is going to make it appear on your screen. Make sure you also download that just to understand the mobile experience on the firm side. Let's go over really quickly about as well here. I saw one question from Dave. Dave was asking about TaxDome being GLBA compliant. Yes, we are, Dave. Now, I do want to highlight something as well. TaxDome has extensive documentation on how we keep things secure. And of course, rest assured, we are IRS compliant on all the requirements for security and data transmission. Now, we have recently acquired as well the SOC 2 certification. We are GDPR compliant as well for all of our global customers. Encryption is here as well, guys. And one of the most common questions, I believe, is because we're a cloud software, one of the most important questions that you want to ask to whoever the vendor is where the data is going to be finally kind of located when you use a vendor that is in the cloud. Well, the good news for you is all the data that you house within TaxDome, because we are hosted with AWS, is going to be housed in your firm's country. So if you're in Canada, which I see a lot of people here from Canada, your data is going to be all in Canada. If you're in the US, the same applies to you. All right, and finally, for those that want to kind of allow more security on the client end as well, there are two-factor authentication options for both the firm app and the clients. This is something as well you can enforce. So I know, and from a lot of the conversations I've had with you guys last week, you want to know more about how clients can make their own platforms more secure. You can of course offer them two-factor authentication. So every time they log in, they actually need to put in some sort of code to authenticate. All right, I think we'll jump here, guys, to the demo. I'm gonna make a quick pause because we just wrapped up with security, and we went over a few of the housekeeping items. Fabiola, do we have any questions here in the Q&A that we want to go over?
We got one here that asked about what were some of the biggest obstacles.
That's right.
And things that we looked at when we implemented the document management, and for us, one of the most important things was speed. Our old platform was really slow. It was cloud based, and we really like TaxDome and the way they keep files in their native format, and also the way they work with the client portals. And I'd emphasize what you said, Edgar. That was another big factor because we selected for portals and e-signature, and the portals are really, we felt like were one of the the best on the market as far as what the client's experience is and how easy it is to use the portals, and our adoption with the portals was really high. We had over 90% of our clients begin to use TaxDome that first tax season, and so that really helped us make a decision to move into with the document management as well, is because so many of our clients were already, the data was already there that first tax season, and so trying to then take it from there and move it into another document management system just really didn't make sense. And TaxDome was faster anyway, so it was a pretty easy decision for us to pretty quickly move into the document management side.
Thank you for that, Russell. And guys, again, on the to the bottom left corner of your screen, you're going to see a pop-up. It's going to be a QR code. Go ahead and download those mobile applications. We're going to talk about a couple different things as well that you can start doing while you're getting started with TaxDome. We're going to jump now to doing just a short demo of what a fully set up firm is going to look like for you guys. And again, we're trying to show you what the outcome is going to be if you follow along during today's bootcamp. Now, I do want to highlight as well, if you are thinking of following along and you don't have a TaxDome account yet, make sure you actually, now this is the time where you go to the TaxDome website or go to the webinar page here and either sign up for a demo with our team or go ahead and start your trial account with us. So if you want to follow along, make sure that you have an account active. You do have the option for starting the trial. You're going to see again a pop-up on your screen, and our team's going to make that appear as well. So you can click that. I'm going to start sharing with you in a couple of seconds. Give me one moment. All right, you should be seeing my screen now. Okay, if you can confirm with a couple of reactions, that'd be great. You have the reactions in the bottom middle of your screen. I see Sama as already. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. All right, so the first thing that I want to highlight about a fully set up firm with TaxDome is the CRM. Now, all of you know that implementing a new software for practice management, it all starts with preparing a client list, either from your tax software or from your current CRM, and then using that to do a massive import into the software. Now, one of the things you want to start preparing is not only client data like names and perhaps emails and phone numbers, but you also want to prepare a couple more things like, for example, what we call the tags, which are essentially just categories for the clients who are going to then be important for functionality that is tied to these in the software. But toward the end of the bootcamp, and after we go about over what you need to prepare, and after we do the actual import process tomorrow, this is what you're going to be looking at as a result. You'll have a fully prepared client list with the right format. You will be able to use bulk actions as well. You will have your own customized table. Now, this is what I prepared for my own sample firm account, but you can have your own columns if you like with your own CRM data that you can then utilize in the system for example, sending mass emails or sending engagement letters. But in the end, all the data is going to come from either your tax software or your current CRM. So Fabio is going to walk us through that process later today and tomorrow. But what you can start doing is at least thinking of where the data is going to come from. And for most people, it is a tax software. But if you have a CRM where you can find all this information, start preparing that export because we'll then use it tomorrow. Now, from the client file perspective, when I'm gonna click one of these clients here so you can see what's in there. One of the things we're gonna prepare as well is we're gonna prepare templates for a couple different things. Now, one of those templates that we'll be talking about during today's session and tomorrow's session is the folder architecture that your clients have within the system. As you know, TaxDome is a documents management system, and we want to talk about best practices on exactly what this folder should look like, which folders should be or not shared with the client. All right, and then exactly what is the best structure for clients to get familiar with it easily, for ease of use, what exactly it should be like when clients log in. And then other types of templates for example, communication with clients. We're going to tell you a little bit about some of the things you can do to communicate with clients, give them status updates, send them emails for welcoming for tax season, or sending a status update toward the end of the processes that you have, etc. And of course, all these templates we're going to talk about how they also link to your workflows section here. Now I'm going to jump here to the my other tab here. Let me switch my screen. And from the client perspective, guys, when you create your profiles and you import your clients, part of that process toward the end of this bootcamp is going to be activating a list of few of your clients. And when you activate a client, sorry, what was that? Just give me one second. Okay, great. So when you activate a client, your clients are gonna get an activation email, which basically prompts them to download the app, activate their account, and create a password. And when a client logs in, if your account is properly set up, they will see something similar to this. Now, a client can log into what we call an account. So, for example, one of the advantages here when you create a multiple profiles from the same so from this for the same client, sorry, is that with a single email, when your clients get invited to the portal, they'll have to create a password, and then with that same email and password, they can access multiple different accounts or profiles. I'm going to go here to the business profile, so you can just see a little bit about what's in there. Now, from the client perspective, they will be able to see, of course, some of the action items that are pending. For example, here we could have a welcome message for clients telling them more about the app, maybe requesting documents, or just telling them what to expect next tax season. We'll give you a couple of ideas. They're going to see also document structures. So if you have, for example, some documents you want to make available for them to see, they will see a folder structure here as well. If you want to send a welcome message from the firm end, they could have those as chats or just receive them as emails. But for the client, this is exactly what it's going to look like. They will be able to switch between those accounts easily from the app, and then again see relevant information for each of those profiles separately, but with the same email and password. Now, Russ, you said something that is always amazing to hear, which is your super high client adoption of the portal. What are some of the things that you believe really drive that client adoption rate that high? 90% is really high. What are some of your strategies?
Well, one of the things that we do each year, and then we usually do it again in the summer, is to send out an intro email to TaxDome with links to to download the app, and we also send out a client chat from within TaxDome to encourage let everybody know that this is how we prefer for them to get us documents and communicate with us, and so far I think clients are used to it. People are used to using the internet for banking and for everything these days, and so the fact that they can get to their information and communicate with us through TaxDome, and we really are proactive in making sure we answer back chats really quick, and so that it is definitely it's definitely really it hasn't been something we've had to push on our clients. Really the adoption rates really taking care of itself.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, Fabiola, I saw that there was an interesting question here from Joseph in the Q&A. It is about the chatting feature. Now that we're actually looking at the chats from the client perspective, um, Russ, you want to go over that question for us?
Sure, let me get over to that.
And while you get to that, just I want to drop a little side note on there. I had a client like 2 weeks ago that, their business partner was concerned, like, what if, we send the invites and then there's people that we have here that might not be too tech savvy. And my client said, well, he sent invites and I have a client that's like 92 years old and he set up a password. And I was like, that's amazing. Like you never know how easy really it can be for somebody to just click on the invite that is sent via TaxDome and then easily set up a password. So the adoption is more easier than you think.
And the question that Joseph Stevens had was whether we enable in the chat feature, you can enable or disable the ability for clients to start their own chats. And of course, the pros of that are if the clients can start their own chats, then they can kind of pick their topic and not add it to a topic that really isn't that what they're asking the question about. The cons of that is if you disable them and then they can't start their own topics. But we let the clients start their own chats. And the con of that is you're going to get more chats that way with clients, and maybe they start a new chat instead of responding in the one that really they should respond in. But I don't find that as a big limiting factor. We prefer to let them start a chat, and then if we need to clean up the chats we can copy and paste comments from one chat to the other and then archive pretty easily. So I think that's one of the great things about TaxDome in so many areas is you can toggle that feature on or off and change your mind on it. But we allow clients to start their own chats.
Thank you very much for that feedback.
Yeah.
And Joseph, don't worry, we'll continue to cover best practices once we get to the, I think, the workflow section, where we cover a lot of status updates, best practices using the chats, and replying to client chats as well. So definitely stick with us for session 3. We're gonna be talking about a lot of workflow use cases here. All right, now I'm gonna jump here back, guys, and so just give me 1 second. Let me go back to my other screen really quick and just finalize with showing you an important piece of a fully set up firm with TaxDome. Now, after the bootcamp, we're going to give you guys a lot of templates, and don't worry, you don't have to figure out how to copy these templates just now. We'll cover that on session 2 and 3. But one of the templates that we'll provide you with is a workflow template. It's going to help you at least have something prepared for next tax season. Now, one of the main focuses today and throughout this bootcamp is going to be preparing for what's coming. And um, now this is one of the sample workflows that we're going to be utilizing during this week's bootcamp, with already some stages that are built here, some stages with automation. We're going to talk about engagement letters, some use cases for organizers, for tasks that get assigned to your team members, some status updates that get sent to the clients as well. All right. So this is one of the pre-built workflows that are going to be available in your library. And don't worry, again, we'll tell you again how to bring those into your own personal library uh, in session 2 and 3. All right. We have just finished with the demo of the firm. I'm going to make a quick pause here and all right, give me 1 second, guys. Go back to the slides. All right, now Fabiola is about to talk to us a little bit more about the client page. What are some of those functionalities you can utilize within TaxDome after you import your clients? If now is the time for questions, so make sure all those questions go into the Q&A. Our team's going to continue answering, but we're also super happy to answer questions here live. So make sure you let us know your concerns. Fabiola, you wanna take the
Yeah.
stage?
Yeah, of course. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Give me a sec. I'm going to share my screen a little bit. And this is the sheet that you will have in order to prepare your, client list. And, before we get into that, because I do want to describe how this setup is, I gonna share the portal instead here for a second. I saw a question somebody out there said, what's CRM? What does it stand for, right? It's customer relationship management, right? It's really your central hub of how you organize your clients and communicate with them. So in this sample firm that we have, you can see all of our client lists on here, right? So we want to make sure that everything's organized, because really, why is it important to keep everything organized in your CRM? Well, so you can find your clients right away. We have our search functions. We have a global search up at the top in which you can type in, a client's name, and here's all the avas that I have in my account, right? And it will give you a really quick way to look up your clients. When you click on your clients' accounts and you go to the info section, you will be able to quickly, see their contact information on the right side and their account information on the left side. So there is a way, like looking at this already inside the system, we have to organize a lot of these things in a sheet, like an Excel sheet, really. so that we import them correctly, right? Because you can always create a new account from scratch if you click on new account and you fill out all of the sections for the account, which is fine. But how do you do that if you have 800 clients, right? You don't want to do that one by one. We want to make sure that we bring everybody in here in one instance, and that is called the importing, right? Which you can see here. If you click on import, you will see this example, upload. But what if we're not ready for this, right? We want to see how an example looks like. So if anybody's following along, kind of like with what I'm doing, highly suggest you download the CSV sample found in the lower right hand corner so that you can see what I'm about to show you in a second. I'm going to go back to the setup here. Right. And while I, start sharing this other screen of that CSV example, I want to ask, Russ, how was your importing process? Did you have any like pitfalls or any issues with the importing? Because it's a lot of information to bring
Sure.
in, right? But was there anything that you, said, this is the worst thing in the world, super extremely hard? Or how did
Mhm.
you find the process in when you did your import?
Well, I would say our tax software gave us a very nice export file, which really followed the columnar format. So our tax software gave us where we hit the ground running with getting the clients over. When we imported by entity type, did our 1040s first, and our pitfall was we only used the 1040 entity tag, and if doing it over again, our tax software tracked so many things from the client office to the fee to so many different things that there were data sets that were in our tax software, multiple phone numbers, and we kind of focused on the core, which was the name and the address and the email
Right.
addresses, and social security numbers, things like that. But we could have brought in so much more by setting up custom fields in TaxDome and bringing all the data in from our tax software. And so that was one of the things that I would say that look at your data, what you can get out of your current practice management system, as well as your tax software, to see which one gives you the most data, and then if you need to set up custom fields in TaxDome so that you can bring that data in, because you're going to want to use TaxDome for your CRM, and having all that data in there is going to really let you do so many things with it in TaxDome, and your engagement letters and your various other things that you can do in TaxDome, that having that data in is so important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes clients, we bring in information and they're like, "Oh, I wish I could have brought more stuff." And I'm like, "You know what? You can bring over into TaxDome, into your CRM per client, whatever information that you need, right?" So first, let's talk about this particular template that we have. It's just an example template, and how you can build upon it. Okay, so taking a look at the naming conventions here, it's important that you try to keep these naming conventions as best as you can. So for example, if you export from whatever software you're using, you're going to want to export a CSV file. It's a comma delimited file in which the data is separated by commas, right? And it's really, really simple. It's kind of like a globally understood file extension. So most softwares will quickly give you that export. They'll either show you like export clients or export CSV, things like that. And there's some softwares that are really neat that give you the option to export certain columns of your client information. So let's take a look at what we have as default here. So TaxDome is kind of like pre-programmed to understand these key columns. So account name, we have contact name, first name, last name, email. We have phone number. We have account type. We have social security number. We have a note section. We have tags. And then if it happens to have, if you happen to have a business, we have a company address and an individual address section. So the reason why you would see an address here with just simple city, zip code, and street address is because this address is most likely going to belong to your individual contact. And we'll talk about the difference between the contacts and accounts in a second. And then on the right side, we have business addresses, right? Because somebody can have their own personal address, but also have a business address because they own a business, right? So these are the simplified kind of columns that we have here available. Now, so you can understand the difference between account and contact, because we have contacts over here. I'm going to switch over just for a second back into our CRM here. So under clients here, we have accounts, and then we have contacts, right? So what is the main difference here? So an account really can either be a company or an individual. They're the entities that you work for and you invoice, right? An account is always linked to one or more contacts depending on how many people use it. And by linking the accounts to contacts, you allow clients to have access to their portal, right? And I'll show you what that means. Well, let's look at this. It looks like this is a married couple here. Or yeah, there we go. Let's click on info. So again, this is the account on the left side, and on the right side, we have our contacts. The account name is Alex Hernandez and Jennifer. That's the name of the account, right? But inside of the account, we got to have some human beings that we want to, communicate with, right? Send engagement letters that they need to sign, or send invoices that they need to pay. So these are the individuals that belong to this account, right? So these are our contacts. Again, this is our account, and on the right side is our contacts. And you will see them separated on this side. So you have a list of contacts here, which you can look up individually. And once you click on them, you could see here at the bottom which account they're linked to, right? And always remember, you come back to the account and you open any of these accounts and you click on info. This is, again, we'll see all of the details, account details on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, we have our contact, in which inside of here, each contact can have their own individual address, right? Because they potentially might be business partners or husband and wife, or whatever the scenario may be. It may be just a single person like Gary here. Gary is the contact for the Gary account because he's just an individual person. So kind of taking this into consideration, okay, we'll go back to the setup of the CSV file here. All right. So account name is column A. And this is where we want to add our, account information. So we just saw that we had married couples on here. We can potentially have a business name on here, and it can be an individual person. Okay. So in this section, again, that's the entity that you are working with, right? In column C and D, we have the individual contact now. So this is the information that, if you take a look at these columns here, they belong to this individual person, right? So Mo, this is his social security number. Mo, this is his email address. And Mo, this is his phone number. And it looks like he has his own address, and it looks like he has a business. It's Mo's Tavern, and this is his business address, right? I actually only have 2 businesses listed on here. That's the only reason why you are going to see only 2 addresses in the business side. So everybody else is blank because they're an individual. They're not really a business. All right. With that in mind, I want to talk about the columns that cannot be blank because the import is just going to create an error, right? So the columns that cannot be blank are ideally the account name, okay? The account type, because we want to make sure that we identify if are they individual or are they a company. We actually have another option called other. If you don't know how to categorize that that entity, then you can call it other. So we have three options. And another one that you cannot leave blank, I believe, is this one. This is our contact name. Sometimes some clients don't fill the column B out and they delete it. Using first and last name, TaxDome will generate the contact name for you. So, but sometimes some clients want to make sure that they show up in a certain order or chronological order, which is fine, right? But ideally, you want to make sure that account name and account type are the ones that are not blank. Hopefully that's clear. We want to identify that. Now, the hyper focus that when I onboard clients, I always talk about tags. Tags is super, super important. And I'll have Edgar and Russ jump on here and talk and give us their comments on this because it's such an important topic that I spend a whole bunch of minutes hyper focusing on this column because it really, really is important. I know here I have like some silly tags on here, but in reality, it would be something like this, right? So this is a business. I do a 1065 for them, and most of these are, my 1040s, and maybe I do 1120S here for this business, right? And let me make sure they're centered here so you can see them. So as a standard practice, a lot of firms use forms to identify the service that they offer to clients. So forms are pretty standard, but you can use words like individual tax return or Schedule C, corporate tax return. Whatever you'd like to use is absolutely fine. And all you have to do is separate by a comma and a space to add, oops, to add other tags like bookkeeping, right? Maybe I do payroll for them, things like that. And some of my individuals, maybe Lisa Simpson here is missing an email address. I actually can tag it as missing email so that when I import, I know which accounts are missing an email, right? You can do a various amounts of tags. So here's where I'm going to bring in Russ so that he can give us a little bit of advice of what kind of tags he uses and how is it helpful for him to bring those over. And also, Edgar, a little bit later on, if you can, let us know your feedback of the clients that you've worked with, some, interesting tags that you might have seen before. But anyway, go ahead, Russ, if there's
Sure.
anything you want to say about
Well,
tags.
where I would start with is I would look at the data that's available in either the software you're exporting from, your practice management software or your tax software. And so if you can easily in both of those, you should be able to get entity type. And so that I feel like is that tag is mandatory as your entity type, because that's going to allow you, once you get into TaxDome, to filter all your lists, all your account lists by entity. And so you can add jobs to just your 1040 clients and add your pipelines for your 1120S clients. And so first of all, entity you've got to get that in there, I think, on your import to make your life much easier. One of the things our software would track was office, and we've got multiple offices, and so we utilize that to add and kind of sorted by those columns, to get our office, and we added an office tag for each of our offices. Our tax software would also show who the return signer was, and so we brought that in as a custom field. and then that would help us also when setting up who we're going to put on the team and various things, as we had that custom field in there. And in the account screen, you're going to be able to filter and sort by various fields, and so that was big for us to have who the partner was going to be on the signer as well. And our tax software would also track who the preparer was, and so we would bring both of those fields in, both preparer and signer. How about you, Edgar?
Actually, yeah, in my experience, I would use as much or as many tags as possible always. So thanks to some great tax software, it would track more or less things, but the general rule, in my opinion, is you just use as much as you possibly can to categorize clients. So yeah, some of the best practices are definitely start categorizing by entity type. So 1040s, your 1120s, your 1120s, as one of the most basic ones, and start thinking of what other categories are going to help you in the future. So for example, something I think everybody does at this point, right, is at the beginning of each year, you want to send an email or some form of communication to your clients telling them about tax season, right? Saying it's tax time. And in order to do that, you need to have a tag called maybe, individual tax clients or 1040, right? So your tax software is going to make that first categorization easy. But then, for example, with some of the clients that I work with, we started tagging clients sometimes according to the language they spoke, because some of the clients only spoke, for example, Spanish or Portuguese, and then we started, that communication would go out on a different language depending on the tag that we use for those clients. So these are all ideas that you need to start thinking of just to make that process of, when it's the middle of February and you want to send that mass communication out, you need to be prepared, right? And this is one of the reasons we do these boot camps is we want to let you guys know what our experience is onboarding with TaxDome, and then of course you can utilize this to better prepare and have a better experience, next year once you're
Yeah.
out.
And if your software will allow you to export out your pricing, I would set up a custom field. So for that would say 2023 tax invoice, and then that data now is in your CRM, and you're going to be able to from the account screen search and say, show me all my clients that I billed 575 to for their 1040, and so you're going to be able to filter that list down to really see that data, and so those other columns besides tags, those custom fields, put some thought into those. But those can be added later if you don't have access to that data. Those custom fields can be added, and that data can be added either through a second spreadsheet import or through manually entering it.
That's right. And thanks for kind of like dropping in there the verbiage there, custom fields. If you don't know what that means, it means that if from the fields that TaxDome by default offers, because to be honest, they are limited. They're just very, very basic, right? Like social security number, phone number, and maybe an address is kind of limited. You might want to bring over your client's date of birth. You want to might bring over, driver's license number, or, some just additional information that you'd like. Those are called custom fields. And the way you want to add a custom field, super easy. You literally just add a column and call it whatever you want. For example, if you need to have EIN number, you don't have to combine it with social. You can have your own column and call it EIN so that the businesses, right, can have their numbers. And that's something that's very common when I onboard clients, is that they're like, yeah, you know what, I want to have the EIN separately because I want to reflect that directly when I open the account and I click on info. I want to see that number right away. So we customize the field so that it can show right when you open the account, right? You can add as many custom fields as you'd like. Just literally add it doesn't matter where you add it, by the way. You just want to add the information on here, right? So this is where you add like the field, for example, for maybe you want to do um, date of birth or something like that, right? And you can add these sections here. And I have some clients that have client ID number, and they issue an ID number to all of their clients, and it's just internal for them. And whoops, it's an example that I use. And like I mentioned, clients use different numbers and different formatting, so it's up to you how you want to set this up. These again are called custom fields within the sheet, the CSV sheet. Okay, so there's another way to create custom fields in the portal, but that's when you already have maybe your clients already imported. I mean, you can create them before you import as well. But just know that by adding a column like this of data that you want to bring over, all you have to do is add it, right? Or if what you want to do is, let's say you have an export of like 1,000 lines already, just make sure that these titles here, you copy them over exactly how they look like into the sheet that you got provided, and every other column can just be a customized field that we're going to bring over into TaxDome. Okay, so yes, custom fields are extremely, extremely important. Bring as much information over as possible. Then later on, if you're like, you know what, I don't really care about the date of birth, we could just delete it and it'll be deleted for all of your clients and you don't have to worry about it. And that's it. So bring as much as you can over, because we can always delete those custom fields if you don't need them, right? So that's something critical to kind of understand when setting up this CSV file. Now, I want to talk about the account names because there's always a lot of questions revolving, this example here. So for example, we have the Simpsons family here, right? You probably wouldn't have something like the Simpsons family. Most likely you'd have something like maybe like Homer and Marge. Whoops. Homer and Marge Simpson. That's more of the reality that we're looking at, right? Where I'm actually going to delete these dependents here because we don't need them for now. You're most likely going to have this sort of example when you create your CSV file. So why are we repeating this? Because we have another family example right here. Why are we creating a lot of accounts? We're not really creating many accounts. What we're doing is saying that Homer Simpson should belong to this account, and also Marge Simpson should belong to this account, right? Super easy to understand. I know sometimes the concepts here can be like, hard at the beginning, but really, if we want, more than one person to access one account, this is it. All we have to do is give them access. All you have to do is provide that title of the account so they can have access, right? I'll give you one example that is nice as well. Let's say Homer Simpson here with the King Toots music store. Let's say that Homer Simpson bought 50% of the music store, and like Marge is like mad, but he still needs access to the account, right? So what we would do here is take Homer Simpson's information all the way to his address here. Let me see if I'm copying it over right. Yeah, so all the way to his address, and I'll get right here. So his contact information, I'm going to paste it right under here. And all I'm going to do, since the music store here, right, he's going to be part owner of it, all I have to do is give him access. And that's it. Using his same email address, he will be able to log in to both accounts. So that's as easy as it is. Obviously here, instead of individual, we're going to change it to company because it's part of a company. But, this is how easy it is to give somebody else access to multiple accounts. And I know Edgar talked about that earlier, which is the best thing in the world. You don't want to give your clients like 5 passwords to set up. That would be silly. Imagine if they do have 5 businesses, and we all know that a lot of the tax firms that we work with a lot of them mostly businesses, a lot of them mostly individuals. But when you work with businesses, you might have one business owner that has 5 businesses, and we wouldn't want him or her to have to set up 5 different passwords. So essentially, we just need one email address, and we'll give them access to all of their accounts. Right. Russ, do you have any experience like that, having, multiple businesses for one owner?
Oh, sure. And someone asked regarding what's the difference kind of between contacts and accounts, and I would say accounts are the entity or the individual returns that you're doing and the work you're
That's right.
doing, and the contacts are the people that you're doing the work for. And so that's who are going to get chats and messages and sign engagement letters in the program. And so you could have one contact be on their individual, and then they could be on their 5 different companies. And we do recommend that you set up, don't try to combine portals between entities. You set up individual separate portal, than the business. And if they've got multiple businesses, keep each of those portals separately. Give them each an account for each business. Don't combine those portals. And as far as tagging, Joseph asked regarding how we set up our entity tags, and I believe you should use the form number, and I think that makes it cleaner and shorter. If you're like us, we do have a lot of tags from entity type, office type, the staff that's going to work on the job. We use tags for that. And the reason why we tag that is we want to be able to go into our account lists and filter and say, show me just this staff prepares return accounts, or show me this partners that they sign. These are the returns that they work on. Show me their accounts. And so by using tagging for staff members, we can filter our lists throughout the program by staff members. We also use by office, as we discussed. We use pricing tags, and so we've kind of condensed down the pricing levels, and so I want to be able to quickly be able to change pricing from year to year, and so we'll use pricing tags. And so I might have 20 1040 pricing tags, or 10 maybe. And then basically we're going to tag a client, whether they're 575 or 675 or 775. And we can use those tagging then down the road in our pipelines to generate engagement letters with specific pricing. Especially we do that on our business tax clients, so that we can generate engagement letters. And so that the tagging is very important, and for you to be able to customize your pipelines and customize what your pipelines can do, because every client's going to be a little bit different, and we're not billing all of our clients the same way, and we're not sending them all the exact same engagement letter. At least I'd say a lot of us aren't. And so by using tagging, you can kind of group up your clients. And so we try to group our 1040 clients into 5 or 6 price buckets, and then we still have custom pricing where we're just billing them hourly, but and we've got a tag for that that'll say, the 1040 is hourly, and so we have a specific engagement letter for that hourly type client. So maybe 80% of our clients will have a specific pricing tag, and then another 20% will have just a standard hourly rate tag. And they get that engagement letter, and we're able to use the tagging to really do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, the best way to utilize tagging to its fullest potential. So that's really awesome. I like the way that you use that, because I've had some clients also kind of set up, very specific engagement letters for certain tags. So we'll talk about more of that aspect of conditions later on, so I don't want to confuse anybody, but using tags is just going to be the best thing for you, especially if you have a lot of clients. For example, let's say you want to send a special notice to all of your bookkeeping accounts, right? Whoever you do bookkeeping for, all you would do is go to your TaxDome account list. You'll filter by tag. You'll
Hmm.
filter by the word bookkeeping, and then bam, you have your 20 bookkeeping accounts that you can easily email and let them know, hey, we're making some changes, and instead of the first of the month, we're going to change your bookkeeping required documents to the second of the month, something like that, right? Or your 1040s also, you want to categorize them and send an email, at the maybe end of December and say, hey, we have tax season coming up, so we'll be glad to help you out this year. Whatever you want to do as far as like bulk actions, just within that feature is amazing. But you can do so much more with tags, as we will explain further on in this series that we have for the year-end bootcamp. So thank you for putting in your 2 cents in here.
Hey, just quickly,
Yeah, go
Russell,
ahead.
I saw there were two questions that I
Hmm.
kind of piqued my interest here, and they are about how you just manage your client information on the firm end. Now, the first question that I want to run by you here is, what is the naming convention you use for accounts? Do you look at last names first, then?
Yes, yes, that's what we do. And then we have a custom field that we specifically import into our software that's going to have their name of how we would like them to be addressed on a letter. And then we also have a custom field for salutation. And both of those we picked up when we imported. We were able to pick those up from our tax software, so we didn't have to manually go in and add those fields. The salutation was something that we had in our tax software already set up, and so we're able. And that citation field is important, I believe, is because a lot of your engagement letters and communications with the client, you probably want to have a citation. So the that data should come from your tax software is my guess. Most of the programs we all use are going to give us a good export of that column.
Awesome. Hey, and hey, Russell, I'm assuming that that naming convention last name. This is actually what I also promote mostly, as far as if your tax software is giving you last name first, then client name, after that. I think that is a great way to start, right?
Mhm.
Now, having that preferred name or kind of preferred way to address a client is going to help you do those massive actions like sending an email to all of your clients at once. It is just nice being able to say, hi Edgar, or hi Mr. Hoskins, right? You are able to do that because you have the right custom fields. And if your tax software is giving you that, then it is best practice to definitely utilize it. Although I want to make it clear, if you don't get that from your tax software, maybe you don't want to spend a couple of hours if it's going to take you too long to enter it manually into your spreadsheet. But definitely think about what exactly is your goal, and then either you know reach out to our team or join our community, ask for best practices, but utilize as much data as possible, especially if your software is already giving you that.
Sure. Another question was, Edgar, was whether we set up on our Schedule C entities. Do we set those up separately from the 1040 client? And I would say we typically do not, if they're not if they're not a single member LLC. If it's an entity, if it's a single member LLC, we're setting it up with its own account. There's just projects that we might want to track, that we really don't want in the 1040 clients. That might be whether we're trying to track our clients this year filing their BOIs by the end of the year, and so we would prefer them to be with our grouped in with our LLC clients and not be in our. We don't want to have to filter through our individual clients to try to find our LLC entities, and so we've chosen to Schedule Cs with that aren't set up as an LLC. We put with the 1040, but if it's an LLC, it should get its own TaxDome account. But really, that's a personal preference for you, and I think you can do it either way and be successful.
I agree with that too. One more question I wanted to also kind of get your perspective on, Russ, was you've been with TaxDome, for a while now, for a number of years, and that means also that there have been changes in some of the or a lot of the client data, like client addresses, client emails.
Mhm.
Those changed. So what are your best practices in with regards to how you keep those that client data up to date?
Well, as far as every time we communicate with the client or change any sort of change of address or anything like that, we absolutely update it in our tax software as well as in TaxDome, and so I think that that's the main way is we're reviewing it when we do the tax return each year. But if we go to change, if a client gives us an update, we make sure at that point we change it in all of our platforms, and that we're using. So that might be QuickBooks. That's going to be. So we try to encourage our staff, don't just make the change in QuickBooks, for an address change. Make sure you make it across all of our platforms so that we've got it everywhere. And we encourage that. TaxDome is the knowledge base. That really is the first place we want to have it right. You need it right everywhere, but that we don't want them to leave that for a later time.
Absolutely. I saw one question from Alan asking about how you would do like mass changes on client data. Alan, updating your client list in mass using TaxDome is possible. But there are a few specific steps I think you will want to follow when you do that. Um, now, if so to answer your question more specifically, right? When you're updating your current client list in TaxDome, what you want to do is you want to make sure the client account names do not vary. I mean, they're just the same. You can update freely any custom fields, any data as far as the accounts list goes. And as far as contacts, if you wish to update those, you have to make sure specific fields match perfectly. My recommendation here is if you're doing a mass update, definitely reach out to our team to make sure you are doing it correctly. I saw some of the problems were creating duplicates. We can merge all the duplicates generated by a massive update. So the good news for you is it is possible. If you have questions on how you can resolve that, definitely reach out to our team. We're happy to help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Yeah, our chat support is great for that. And we have our email support as well if you ever need it, which is success@taxdome.com. Because we all know you can be there in the middle of the night and you have this burning question. So feel free to shoot us an email, throw us some screenshots, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might be having. Now, thanks you guys for bringing in all of those additional questions and for bringing up a very, very important topic that I need to address while we're here. If you are thinking of integrating TaxDome with QuickBooks Online, you want to make sure that the account name actually matches the account name that you have in QuickBooks. So that's a really, really important thing if you want like the automatic synchronization to happen. So the way QuickBooks integration works is just, if you generate an invoice in TaxDome, it'll automatically generate it in QuickBooks for you for record keeping. And it does need to be paid out in TaxDome and everything. However, that's the integration, right? If you want to create or generate the integration successfully, the synchronization of names here needs to match. Now, in case it doesn't match, because sometimes that'll happen, you can manually sync the accounts, right? In case like in QuickBooks, you don't have Simpsons, comma, Homer, and Marge, you have them as Homer and Marge, and that's it. That's how you have them in QuickBooks. So if that's the case, this is the account that wouldn't synchronize automatically, but you can manually synchronize it, if that makes sense. So usually it's something that I always touch upon at the very beginning. Hey, are you going to integrate this with QuickBooks? And if you know for sure you are, make sure the account name adheres to what you have in QuickBooks. Otherwise, if you're not going to do that, don't worry about it. Make sure that the way you want the account name to show up shows up. It's up to you, like we mentioned before. If you want the last name to show up first, like here we have Borton Wendell, and then we have Brockman Kent. A lot of clients choose that, but sometimes maybe you want Kent to be the way you want this to set up, right? It's up to you. This is how you want to set it up. If you want to set it up all in capital letters, great. If you want to set it up all in, small letters, it's up to you. but make sure that you correct it, because I've had clients that have, for example, capital letters in one name, and then upper lowercase in another, and it kind of looks disorganized. I mean, at the end of the day, um, it's not going to majorly affect the account, but it's going to affect your OCD. You probably want to have an organized CRM, right? So just make sure, if you want to choose capital letters, or if you want to do I have a client, I'm going to be honest with you, it's interesting to see that they wanted the first name to be regular, lowercase, or, proper case with the capital, and then their last name, capital letters. That was interesting. It's up to you and how you want to set that up. So it can be strange for others, but as long as it makes sense to you and your firm, that's it. That's what matters. All right. So again, this is the setup. I hope we were clear about how to set this up, because it's relatively easy. You just want to bring over the fields that you'd like. And I'm going to be honest, it does take some time for you to sit there and kind of make sure that all of the columns are right, for you to make sure that you're not missing any information. And even if you are, by the way, maybe some people don't have phone numbers. Maybe you have a couple people missing an email. That's fine. Just make sure you don't leave the account name blank and first and last name. We don't want to leave those blank, right? And we don't want to leave the account type blank. Now, there are some scenarios in which you're like, hey, can I import all my individuals first and then later import all of my companies? You can absolutely do that for sure. You don't have to import everybody all at the same time. You can do it in batches, right? And I will show you, for example, let me show you another way that can, another example of an export from your software. So for example, there's some softwares that when you export, they give you the whole line with the spouse as well, right? And that's going to be common. And I'm going to say, like, maybe 30% of you watching, that's going to be your case. Like, what do I do there, right? So it's easy. What you're going to do is just make sure that you do have a first and last name for the spouse. And that's it. You want to make sure that you have that, right? And that you have this contact. Even if you don't have the contact column, just make sure that the first and last name is there, and that you have the information required for the spouse, which is maybe they have their own phone number. Maybe they have their own separate address. If not, you can forget about the address, because it's probably the spouse's address as well, and that they have an email. So what would this entail? We would import the first person's data. We would do the whole import just like if they were just a single person, and then we would do a second import to import their spouse information. So in that case, ask us for help as well, so that you're not lost in that process. But it is a simple process, so that you don't have to do this kind of like second column for every single one of your accounts, right? Because they do happen to have a spouse. So I hope that's clear. I know that's going to happen once in a while. We do have help articles in our help center that will be able to help you out with that, if you need step-by-step instructions, right? And again, our support team is always here to answer any questions. All right. So let me go ahead and see if there's any additional questions. You guys see any questions that might have popped up so far in the last couple minutes?
I saw some people were asking more about the integration with QuickBooks Online, guys. We will not cover it in depth today, but the general idea here is your account names that you're gonna import over to TaxDome, they need to match with your QuickBooks account, QuickBooks Online profiles that you have for the clients. So that is the general idea. You want those to sync, because every client, every invoice and payment, if you're planning to utilize TaxDome for payments, it is going to sync with your QuickBooks Online account. So you want those names to match. So some people do export from QuickBooks Online. I know it is not as common that the names of your clients in your tax software they match with QuickBooks Online, precisely. Don't worry if that's not the case. You can still sync those manually later.
That's
But
right.
the better idea is to have those names match in all places, because when you do your import here into TaxDome, well, everything's just going to sync for you, right? And so best practice will be if the names, account names match in all of your different systems, including your tax software, and if you are using QuickBooks Online account within your platform as well.
Thank you for that. Yeah, like I mentioned, we won't touch too much upon QuickBooks, but it's always nice to know at the beginning, right? Because sometimes you might import everybody, and then you're like, oh, I wish somebody told me this at the beginning that the names should have matched, right? So just an FYI. Again, look at our Help Center articles. Everyone, it's always at the top of the help button up here. Type in whatever you are thinking about, have questions on. You'll get these amazing articles that will help you in understanding all of the features more, right? So I'm switched back into, the screen here in which we do importing on. So I'm going to leave with this, right? This is what the next step. Once we have the items prepared, we click into the import. Again, remember the download CSV sample is always going to be here at the corner if you need to be reminded about what the column standard names need to look like and just examples. But this is the next steps, right? Notice up at the top, we have map accounts, we have settings, and then we have map contacts. So we do kind of like two stages here. We map the account information and then we map the contact information. So we'll definitely review that tomorrow so that everybody has a good sense of how this is going to be mapped out. Usually when we start mapping, it makes a lot more sense of why we're doing the columns the way we are, why we're setting everything up the way we are, right? One of the key things I want to remind everybody for that CSV file, it does need to be less than 300 kilobytes. So usually you won't hit that marker unless you have like, I don't know, like 10,000 lines. But usually it can range from like maybe you have a client list of 300 or maybe 1,000 or 2,000. That shouldn't hit a marker just yet. I don't know if you've had any scenarios like that, Edgar. The only time where I had a scenario where it was beyond 300 kilobytes, it's because my client accidentally wrote a number on line 15,000 and that was an accident. So he deleted that and everything was fine. But have you ever had that kind of scenario before?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, there are a couple of there are a couple of circumstances in which you guys will run into several minor, I'm going to say minor, error messages in the software. One of them is the file size, and yes, but almost every single time I've experienced it is just a matter of either fixing the file. Maybe there's a blank
Yeah.
row somewhere on the files, blank column. But those are all things that we can easily fix. And again, thanks to our education team, we do have great academy videos and help articles to help you understand all those different situations. Nothing's gonna be perfect from the beginning, but the good news for you is this isn't anything new, right? We have at this point, I think also Russ would agree here. At this point, we have run into all potential use cases and circumstances, and rest assured, our team's gonna have answers for you for all those questions.
All right, awesome. So we've covered pretty much all of the items that we need to cover for today, right?
We're gonna
That setup is really essential I mean, critical really for moving forward. So let me know if Edgar, Russ, you want to add anything else?
Oh, hey, thank you for that, Fabiola. We're gonna talk a little bit about some of the questions that are here.
Sure.
But before we wrap up today's session, guys, we want to finalize with explaining what happens after you actually import your clients. Now, tomorrow we're going to walk through the import process. We're gonna click every button, map every custom field, tag all the clients. Okay, we're gonna do that tomorrow using our sample spreadsheet that you can again download on the top right corner of your page. There's a button, and go ahead and download that if you haven't seen it yet. And once again, if you have not started your TaxDome account, you have two options. You can either schedule a demo with our team or you can sign up for the trial. Now, it is important that you get things ready for tomorrow. If you plan to join, we're gonna walk through the import process, and we want you guys to follow along, so you have at least some experience doing that before you do that with your real client list. All right. Now I'm gonna share my screen for Bill, if you don't
Yeah,
mind. Let me go back to the
absolutely.
slides for a moment, and I'm gonna go ahead and share. If you guys give me 1 second. All right. So let's just pretend we've imported all of our clients, right? All of our tags are set up, and we have a great CRM with tons of great different categories we can utilize here. And to give you some examples, I know some people were asking, okay, what are the best practices? What are some of the tags I can't miss and I must have? Well, the truth here is, guys, start with as much data as your tax software gives you. I don't think yes, it's gonna take you time to format the spreadsheet, but you don't also want to spend 3, 4, 5 hours doing that, right? Do a massive import with what your tax software is giving you. Don't worry, you can always add more data later, and you can update your spreadsheet, or your tax dom list later as well, with more tags or more custom fields. No problem. Now, to give you an example here, I created a few tags that are I like separating clients that are digital friendly or that are tech friendly versus the ones that are not. So I created a tag called digital and then another one called paper clients. So thanks to that tag, the system allows me to just click it and use it as a parameter for just filtering my client list. The good news is, when I filter my client list and I find the clients who meet my criteria. So for example, if I'm looking at clients who are tech friendly, and maybe my criteria for grouping them with this tag is because they have email or they know how to use email, right? I can then click the top box on the left here and then send all those clients an email. And this is just one of the most basic use cases for the CRM, but just having this ability is going to save you a ton of time. Now, what happens when I am in, it's the beginning of tax season, and I want to send all these people some form of communication telling them that it's tax time and I need their documents? Well, thanks to the tag, I can find the clients who will be open to receiving that email right in the first place. And then here, when I write my email in TaxDome, thanks to the custom fields, I can write an email subject that utilizes the client's first names, for example here, to say it's tax time and then the name of my client who is receiving the email. And that's for a lot of the questions. Well, the most common question I get here when I explain this is always, okay, is every client going to see my other clients' email addresses? Are they going to be BCC'd into the email? The answer is no. Because TaxDome connects to your mailbox, it doesn't matter what you use. You can use Outlook, Gmail, Yahoo, or really just any provider. Each client is going to be getting a separate email with a separate subject line, and clients can reply independently. Those will all be independent conversations. So you're sending a mass email to your clients, but everybody's getting a separate email. And then, of course, if you utilize TaxDome with your team, you can select who is the sender of that email. You can create templates for those emails as well. We'll go over a few of this on day 2 and 3. So again, right now, just focus on what are some of the things you can start preparing for tomorrow, because we'll walk through that import process, and then we'll go over all these bulk actions you can utilize in the software. I'm gonna make a small pause here just to see if anyone else has questions about either. Russ, I see some questions for you, right? So
Russ is popular.
Let's see. Let me see. Which go ahead and what questions are you looking at, Edgar?
so let me pull this one up from Joseph as well here. So Joseph's asking us about. Let me maximize it. Give me 1 second. Okay, so Joseph's asking. He wants to create a newsletters for weekly newsletters based on tags. Now, Joseph, the question here is, what are some of the criteria you would utilize to send out that weekly newsletters to your clients? Do you just want to categorize by who has an email? Who has an email address active, who you can, that you can utilize for those sending those emails. I think you need a tag in place first in order to do this. But
Yes,
in
that's what I was going to say. We created a newsletter tag, and that way you don't duplicate people, because remember, some of your contacts are going to be on multiple accounts, and so you don't want to send them. They've got 6 accounts, 6 entities with you. You don't want to send them 6 emails for the newsletter, and so you really want to have a system in place where you tag your clients that you want to get the newsletter to, and then you can filter down to those clients that are getting the newsletter.
Absolutely. And then somebody was asking about also, what we did with when I click send email here, guys. It is important to understand this concept of shortcodes that we utilize, right? When you want to add pieces of customized data in your engagement letters, or your email communication, or your chat communication, you have always this option here. So for example, in this email that I'm writing right now, I'm saying it's tax time, and then comma, and then let's say I want to add the client name. Now, TaxDome does have contact and account fields, right? Now I'm going to utilize the contact's first name, so everybody who's getting the email, for them, because I have contacts and accounts, I will be able to pull that from the contact profile and say it's tax time, Russell or Fabiola or Edgar, and then again everybody's going to get a separate email, and it will not see other clients' data. You will be able to use these fields after your first import of clients. And one of the first, this is something that Fabiola mentioned earlier. One of the things you will need in order to be able to do this is some of those columns that we talk about. So, for example, in order to use the client's first names, you need contacts' first names, or you need last names, or you need the full name, right? At the very least, the full name, which is required for the import, so you can then use that in your email communication. This will we'll go over more use cases tomorrow, but the
Sure.
general idea is go ahead and bring as much data as possible as always.
Great. Awesome. Edgar, do you mind? Can you go over, just because in the import tomorrow, it's going to be important to have this clarified. Can you go a little bit over folder templates? Because we all know what we import clients, they're all going to have folders, but I want everybody to get like a general idea of how that looks like, so they can mentally prepare of, selecting those templates so that we can import, tomorrow.
Definitely. So that's always a good point too, guys. Most of you already have some kind of a folder architecture that you work with for your clients. Let me go to my firm templates really quick. And then here, if you already have a TaxDome system, okay, I want you to go now, if you're able to, go to the templates menu here on the left, and then click the sub-tab firm templates. This is then going to give you option to clicking here folders to the right, and then you're at least going to have one template here. It's going to be called default tax years. Now, TaxDome, when you create a client profile in TaxDome, a client account, or when you import clients, right? TaxDome is going to create a default folder architecture for those clients. And this is what's in your system currently. If you're new to the software, this is going to be what's in your system right now. And now this is the time to start thinking of what you want those folders to look like for your clients in the future. Because once we do the import tomorrow, this standard folder architecture will apply to all the clients. And again, don't worry if you don't have anything standardized. Maybe you haven't thought about this a lot. You want to give it more time to add more to it. That's completely fine. You can always add more folders, but what's essential is for tomorrow, you have a list, at least some of those folders that are key to you, or key to your team, that you want to have for all the clients by default. Uh, Russ, I think here, I would appreciate some feedback here. Are there any best practices you utilize for keeping folders or files here in TaxDome?
So we kept we kept the top 2 folders as you have them. The private one, we renamed that to, that's just basically our internal directory. And then we file by year as you're set up there. I think that that's a good practice. So when it's time to start to archive and remove data, it's very nice to be able to have your information by year. Under our private directory, we're going to have that. Under our internal directory, we're going to have that by year. Similar to how it's firm doc shared with client, we're going to have the same scheme for internal each year. Then we're going to have a permanent folder for sure. And we've got various folders that our old structure had. So we definitely followed our. And I'm going to go into actually mine as we're talking here, so I can. So we've got a permanent file folder. We also have a power of attorney folder that we create, and then under each year we'll have subfoldering. And so that's where under each year we'll have a folder for tax returns. We'll have a folder for work papers, tax work papers. We'll have a folder for bookkeeping work papers. And so we'll basically have under each year under our internal drive, 7-8 folders that we use to file our various documents in. So the bookkeeping would have its own subfoldering system, and basically, so we just updated for our 2025 folders a couple months ago, and what's one of the nice things here is you're not. As long as you've got your overall structure and you're happy with it, you can add, he could add 2023 right now, and then his subfoldering, and then apply that to all your clients. So you can, and so we just added our 2025 and applied it to all of our clients. And we would do that back at the account screen. That's one of the bulk actions we can do in our CRM, is to apply this folder update. So it's gonna grow each year, and we're gonna add years as we go along. And so we would add that to the firm docs folder, and then the private folder, which is your internal directory the client doesn't see.
Appreciate that. Awesome. Thank you. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Now, one thing that I saw in the questions here, I'm going to just jump back to clients really quick so we can wrap up this section, was some of you are asking about, some of the columns that I have here on my list, and that are different to what you see on your screen. Now, the reason for that is, guys, these columns that you see here, for example, office or 2023 return fee, those are all custom fields that I created. Now, if you want to start with that process now, go for it. I think it won't, it will not make the process difficult for tomorrow to import clients. You can go ahead and start creating within the templates field. You can look at custom fields here. Any custom field you create for an account will become an available column within your accounts table. And of course, you can definitely customize this table however you like. I decided to see first, next to the name of the client, I decided to see the office, but you can click this gear icon to the right and then customize that to whatever else you like. If you like to see emails first, go ahead and drag that over, apply that change, and now you can see all the emails right next to office or right next to the name. So these are all custom fields I created, and again, you can create them yourself by going to templates, custom fields. If you create custom fields for accounts, again, those become available columns in your clients or accounts table.
And one of the great things here, Edgar, is just you can click on, manager one would be a specific person in your firm. So you would most likely name that, an actual person's name. That's going to be manager one. And now you click on manager one, you can see their jobs. And if you just wanted to see manager one's 1040s, then we can filter it down to manager one's 1040s or manager one's bookkeeping jobs. And so this page here is really a lot of the power of the CRM and being able to filter and get your lists as well as do bulk actions here as well. But it contains a lot of data here if you've set your tags up properly and your custom fields. So the search feature, I would show that, Edgar, maybe how we can, if we want to see all of our 1040s that we charge $1,000 to, he could just go up in the search field and hit 1,000, and we would get all of our clients that we're charging 1,000 to. So it helps
Exactly.
when you're going to maybe set pricing. You can filter down by 1040s and then show me clients we've got at $1,000 or clients that we've got at 1,500, and we use this to kind of help us start setting our pricing for next year.
Exactly. Now, just one more thing about the tags. The tags are apply just across the board, guys. We're just showing you the CRM, but generally, the tags can be used as a filtering parameter anywhere in the system. So if you're
Yeah,
looking at tasks, you're looking at jobs, you're looking at work in progress, you're looking at time that was tracked by your team, you may want to use those tags to look at specific data, data sets within your different tables. So if you want to look at just tax work or just bookkeeping work or just tax work assigned to Edgar or to partner one, or that's those are all kind of those are just some examples of functionality tied to the tags. So very very useful. Definitely think those through and add as many as you possibly can. That'll be
yeah.
my piece of advice.
Yeah, throughout tagging is the secret, here. You really want to, you really don't want to. I know in other programs, you can tag in QuickBooks and you can tag in other online programs, your credit card statements or whatever, and a lot of people just ignore those features. But tagging is not something you ignore in TaxDome. Tagging is really core to using all the functionality from your jobs and your pipelines to filtering your list so that you can send out mass communications just to your 1120s clients or just to your business entity clients. And so tagging really helps you accomplish that.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think we are good to wrap up here. Give me 1 second. I wanted to mention, guys, we're gonna jump. We're gonna start with the Q&A in a couple of seconds. Before we get there, our team has prepared a couple of poll questions that we wanna make sure you guys get answer. It's very important also to get all of your certificates. So you're gonna start seeing a couple poll questions show up on your screen. You should provide us an answer. So there's about 3 or 4. Provide us an answer. If you don't see them, please send us a chat message. But you will also find them on the top right corner of your page. You'll see polls. Click those, and then just submit your answers after. Thank you very much. Let me go back to the slides really quick. All right, guys. So just to do a quick recap while you guys are helping us answer those polling questions. Today we went over a couple of things that we'll be, kind of covering, going through during the boot camp. Um, we also demoed the short demo on what the client experience looks like, what a platform looks like for the firm after the initial setup, after importing clients, creating some templates, and creating some workflows. Now we talk briefly about security, and more importantly, we talk about the CRM actions, CRM functionality. We talk about import preparation for tomorrow. Make sure you have at least that CSV export out of your software. We wouldn't expect you guys to have imported the file already. We actually want you to walk through that process with us tomorrow. So just make sure you at least have the CSV export. We'll do a small recap as well on what are some of the things you should start preparing or formatting with your spreadsheet. So don't worry if you can't do a whole lot. Just having that CSV export is going to be essential for tomorrow's session. Now I see the poll questions. I think were answered. Perfect. We're good to jump to just really quickly some of the resources as well, guys. Now, for those of you that are not aware, we do in the handouts document we mentioned, we have a help center. Now you can access a help center by going to help.taxdome.com, but there are also help center for the client. So if you need videos from the client perspective because you want to let the clients know what it's like to activate their accounts or to maybe sign a document or to upload documents, the client help center can be accessed by if you go to client-help.taxdome.com, and more specifically, there's one video that I put in the Q&A earlier that is about how clients can start activating their portals. There's one of the videos that I've in the past utilized to basically introduce TaxDome to clients, let them know what their experience is going to be like, and that has helped tremendously. So if you have clients who are willing to watch a 2-minute video on how to do something, definitely look at the client help center. We have also a YouTube Academy full of videos, and we have also webinars that we're going to continue to do to increase the adoption of our software, and of course, guys, help you out get started quickly. It's November. Your timing, believe it or not, is really really good. Okay, and we want you to not only be able to set up TaxDome initially, but we want you to also reiterate and of course improve your systems before you get to actual tax season. Now, don't forget to also join our community on Facebook. If you're not part of our community, we have also a community you can join. Sorry, from the portal. Go to the help center. You're gonna see a community button. So go ahead and click that and join us for our official community where our team is there. So if you want to connect with our team, with our product team, with even us, Fabiola or me, we're both in the community. Want to ask questions? Make sure you join. It's in the portal. Click the help icon on the top right corner of your page and join us. And then finally, guys, if you need help, I saw a couple of questions that are technical that are from people that have been using TaxDome perhaps for months or for years maybe. And if you guys have a problem, don't forget you can reach us always at success@taxdome.com. Our email is open. You can also reach us by going to the help icon on the top right corner of your portal page. We have chat. We have a live chat available. We have a community, more importantly, which is I think one of the most valuable tools because not only get responses from our team, but you can get feedback from other users that have been with TaxStone for a long time that will give you best practices that will understand maybe your use cases that are specific to your firm. Awesome. Let's go back to the slides. And again, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you, Russ, for being here again for another one of these boot camps. We're excited for tomorrow. We will again walk through the import process. It's gonna be the key takeaway for tomorrow is the import process. Make sure you have that CSV export ready. If you missed some of the session, maybe you weren't able to join fully. Go ahead and download the handouts document. It's full of great details on what we covered today and what you need in order to be prepared for tomorrow's session. So once again, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of your day ahead. We're looking forward to tomorrow's session.